Hi guys! For those who have not met me, my name is Helena. I am a photographer and I'm a writer, but most importantly, I am a creative. I feel like life is just too short to stick to one thing, and if you guys agree with any of that statement, you totally belong here. 1 year ago, I decided that I would be making chainmail for a shoot. I think it's time just to finally finish the piece, do the photo shoot, do the set building, do everything, do all the editing, and I wanted to share that with you guys. So let's get into it. I grabbed my notebook to share the steps on what we'll be covering in this video. First, I need to wrap up the final details on the chainmail piece. Next, set up the backdrop of my little studio space, more like my living room. And of course, take the photos. Share a little on the editing process of my favorite or favorites, depending on how the shoot goes. And then after that, reveal the final image. So believe it or not, this piece actually took an entire year to make. I thought I'd share a couple clips from stream when I was working on this piece a little bit earlier on in its journey. I want to get fabric, and then I want to put it like right along the end here. Chainmail takes forever to make if you know anything about making chainmail, so that's why I didn't really share this process on this video specifically, but if you've been following me on Twitch, you've seen the whole thing or you've seen a little bit of it. So I think that that's a really cool way that I've been sharing my growth and sharing this whole piece. But yeah, it's pretty much done. I really just need to get the final touches done, so I need to go and do that really quickly. But yeah, let's get into it. So this is how I roughly want this to look. Looks really clean on all the edges. Everything is laying pretty flat, and the rings look really nice and even whenever it's tapering up. Unfortunately, that means that the first side that I did here was a little wrong, because as you could see from what I've started right here, this is correct, this is incorrect from what I want. And it goes all the way up the rest of this way. So what I'm going to be doing is trying to get this to match this other side right here. I've been dreading kind of doing these little touches because if you know anything about chainmail, once you break in to fix a piece, there's no stopping till it's done. It was a pain in the neck to figure out how the heck I did this first side. I remember when I made this part of the back piece initially, and I did not feel like it looked quite right, but I deemed it a future me problem. Yeah, future me here, big pain in the neck. Once I figured out what I was doing, what I needed to be doing, it pretty much came together a lot easier, and I was able to finish the whole thing in about 50 minutes, which was a lot longer than I had anticipated, but I'm a lot happier with how it turned out. Now that that's done, let's go try it on and see what it looks like. Yeah, so this is the final piece. I like it so far. I didn't do anything with the back because I want to probably put some fabric on, like wear a cape, but I'm not too sure on that quite yet, so I guess we'll find out on shoot day. Yeah, I think it turned out good. It's pretty comfortable despite like what it looks like. It's more comfortable than you'd think. I feel like I could still tweak the neck forever and ever and ever and not be happy with it, so this will have to do for now. So yeah, here's the look. And now it's time to get into shoot day. I've done so many self-portraits over the years and even started sharing a little bit of this process. But this is the first time I've gone this in depth, and admittedly I've been a little bit nervous about it. But I figured, why not let you in on the full setup, nerves and all. So here I am, just setting up my backdrop and getting lighting just how I want it for the look I'll be wearing. So yeah, here we are. I am doing a basic setup. I really wanted to try out my brand new snoot that I just got. I got it for like 15 bucks and it fits beautifully, so I'm very happy with that. Everyone I know has tried using Mylar. I haven't tried it yet, and I really wanted to do that with this look just because I feel like the scales and the chainmail, it'll just like look really shimmery and cool. So I'm very excited to try that out. And yeah, generally, I think just like for the outfit, I'll figure out something with like a skirt and a top. I have stuff in my closet, so really just want to let the chainmail shine for itself. I put on some makeup, kind of did my hair. It's a bit of a mess, but you know, nothing's perfect, and it doesn't need to be perfect. I just really wanted to be able to do this, so yeah. So this is gonna be my background. In the editing process, I'm actually gonna be cropping myself out, so I need to set myself up in a way that I can cut myself out of the background really easily. I'm interested to see how it does in reaction to the Mylar as well, because I think I'm going to try it like
over here, over there, and then on the floor. Gonna just try out a couple things. So yeah.
So let's get into the shoot. Here's a little look at what goes on behind the camera, including the settings I worked with. For reference, I shoot with a Nikon D850 and used a classic 24-70 2.8 to get my shots. The Nikon Bridge app is a little wonky, but I do love using it as a remote to show me what I'm looking at as I plan and shoot. By this point, I hadn't really figured out the pose I was really aiming for, so I was getting a little frustrated with myself, but I kept at it, locked back in, and nailed the shot not much later. And here's what the photo I liked best turned out like. And with that being said, let's get into editing. Honestly, like, part of me is thinking I should just reshoot this whole thing the whole freaking time, because I was fighting for my life during this whole shoot. I'm not gonna lie. I don't really know what to think yet. I've been kind of just like dreading editing it just because I don't know what it's gonna be like. So to get started on this edit, I decided I wanted to select and mask my subject to remove it from the background. If you're looking for an in-depth tutorial on this, I highly recommend an Ethereal Fire's channel masking tutorials he has on YouTube. I'll have that linked in the description. Not gonna lie, it's been absolutely essential in streamlining my editing process. This is the most time-consuming part of the edit, even with this process. I used to hand draw out every little bit of my subject, and this new method helps add a little bit more reality to anything semi-transparent and include little details like hair and fur. Once I had my main subject cut out, I used the same technique for the foreground layer of this photo and started creating my background. I found all of my background layers on pexels.com, which is a great place for anyone to find license-free stock images to use in their work. And no, this is not sponsored. This girl's just not into gatekeeping. Once I was happy with the layout of the image, I began my favorite part, the color grading process. If you had any doubts of this image turning out, so did I. As do I always do until I get to this step though. Here is where all of the image really comes together. I just realized I have not saved in 3 hours. I did some final touches in Lightroom by popping on some of my favorite presets and tweaking them to heck until I was finally happy with the result. And here's how the image looks now that it's all done. There's my image. And now that you've seen the image, here's my final reaction. I really wanted to do a shoot to celebrate creating my first chainmail piece. That was like technically my first piece. I just didn't finish it for an entire year. Turns out I make chainmail now. And it's partly because I just couldn't get this one piece done. I couldn't figure it out. So I just like kept learning different weaves, kept doing different things. So this piece is really what started it all. I've made several since in that process, and I'm not done yet. Honestly, like, I was so nervous because I was like, this is a whole year's worth of work. What if it doesn't turn out? Yeah, of course I put it off. I had absolutely no reason to put it off because here I am and I made something that I'm really proud of. Thanks for watching my first video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to like and subscribe.